Being the next evolutionary step from the 924 Volkswagen parts-bin extravaganza, Porsche reworked the design from the ground up and refined the 944 and 928 into a unique and engrossing grand touring car. With its recent resurgence in popularity, I found myself catching the wave of hype and purchased a 1986 naturally aspirated 944. Since I've been driving this car every day for the last couple of years, I want to examine certain aspects of the car's design and see what Stuttgart manufacturers and designers were able to accomplish with this pretty little 80s sports car. The first thing I noticed when I originally bought the car was how damn comfortable it is to be in. This is accomplished in a few different ways. The seats by far are the most pleasant thing I ever sat in. Comparatively speaking, these are on the same scale of expensive Herman Miller Aeron chairs in how well they support my lower back, butt, and neck. I never have to struggle to find a relaxed place to sit or have to readjust myself over long stretches of time driving. Truly, they are a pure work of art. Conversely, with my experience with JDM cars of the 80s, 90s, and now, those seats tend to become stiff and unsupportive of my lower region after really long trips. Now, I'm not a particularly tall dude. However, I find the interior to be fairly spacious, both horizontally and vertically. My head doesn't hit the ceiling, nor are the pedals clustered together, making them super easy to manage. I just want to take a quick moment to remark on how glorious the center space is in this car. Nothing feels out of place for your arm to rest naturally right by the gear lever. All the dials, knobs, and switches are well within reach of my driving position. In no time at all, I became acclimated to the layout of the interior, so I'm never required to take my eyes off the road to do anything, like rolling down the windows or to open up the sunroof. Gauges are prominently displayed in the center of vision and use a fighter jet style of white, red, and black coloring scheme that provides maximum legibility. Finally, with the combination of glass hatch and the ability to fold down the rear seats, this tiny little sports car provides a surprising amount of practical space. In my own experience, I've moved decently sized furniture, fit 3 grown adults, and carried a ton of luggage for weekend getaways with no issue. The interior seems to be absolutely driver-oriented without compromising practical space or quality of materials. Mostly. In terms of vehicle performance, Porsche engineers were required to make a pretty strict compromise. The weakest element with the 944 is with its 150 horsepower inline 4-cylinder 8-valve engine. In 1986, when my little NA was made, it is fairly competitive amongst the other cars in its class. With its 2.5-liter engine, the 944 had a 0 to 60 time of 7.5 seconds. The Mark III Super was rated at 200 horsepower with a 0 to 60 in about 7.3 seconds, while a E30 M3 beats the NA 944 at 197 horsepower with a 0 to 60 of 6.7 seconds. I find myself keeping decent pace with CRVs, Explorers, and Camrys without too much effort. Anything else, however, and sometimes I feel like I'm Granddad in his old Model T going to Walmart on a pizza roll run. All that being said, this doesn't really hinder my enjoyment with the car. Porsche engineers had the challenge to develop their engine in conjunction with a small drive shaft and rear transaxle to optimize the car's weight balance. To counteract vibrations sent through the torque tube, they decided to split the 928's V8 in half and ended up producing the longitudinally mounted motor. Once the harmonics balance and you take it touring through windy roads or on the motorway, this is where the little machine truly starts to shine. With its balance shaft, the engine runs silky smooth at 2,000 to 3,500 RPM. This adds to the feeling of the car effortlessly cruising over the endless stretches of blacktop. The gearbox is super crisp and clicks into each gear like a well-oiled bolt-action rifle. The clutch is light and snappy, it's very clear where the bite is, and it doesn't feel super heavy. The steering is responsive and predictable without being numb and over-assisted with the power steering. Running this machine between 3rd and 4th gear keeps the speed and revs manageable through tight curves with ease and provides enough power to overcome any steep incline without too much energy output. With the excellent 50-50 weight distribution, the handling inspires loads of confidence in its steering while maintaining its current speed without significant downshifting. The fresh coilovers keep it placed firm in its stance and absorbs most bumps without the suspension feeling like they're stiff as a rock. When the symphony of little elements come together, the 944 creates a solid mechanical and rewarding experience like no other. This is what I appreciate most about my 944. When I get into the driver's seat and go on little back road excursions on tight, winding uphill roads, I start to clearly understand the engineering goals the Germans had when refining this car into what it is. What I admire most about industrial design is when the engineers have a clearly defined goal and work intently to achieve their objectives. From the introduction of the 924, the Porsche designers had a series of notes on how they could improve their production that would lead to the most rewarding grand touring experience the 944 could provide. When a team successfully collaborates together, bringing all of their unique individual experiences and ingenuity, they have the opportunity to make something that's super effective in its achievements. That's what it seems like the 944 was specifically designed for, exploring the roads least traveled and finding the unseen wonders through the windshield of this car. The 944 was made solely to be a grand touring car, and it hits the nail on the head for its execution. While the years continue to march on by, I become more cynical in the trajectory of the current automotive industry. I feel the vast majority of cars made now don't come across as though they are planned with the same level of forethought or expertise. When I get into a more modern car and struggle to find the cruise control button or get a constant beeping reminder for something stupid, I can't help feeling super angry at the idiots who build these modern monstrosities. The cherry on top of this carefully baked German chocolate cake is how amazing 944 fans are. Purchasing the 944 is entrance into the 944 Friends Club, where you'll simply make connections just by owning one of these cars. I bought my NA from the Andreas YouTube channel a couple years ago. This being the first time I had ever shipped a car from out of state, Brent had helped me through the process and was super awesome. This is the best way I can illustrate what makes owning a 944 so great. The community is open and willing to help fellow 944 owners. I've made several friends simply through being a part of the Owners Club, and there's no shortage of mechanics who focus exclusively on the Porsche 944, like Brent. It just feels like the automotive industry avoids developing cars for niche roles or making vehicles that support the driver's experience alone. I think the examples of well-made and ingeniously designed cars is becoming fewer and farther in between. It feels as though there's less strong communities surrounding newer cars, as the companies that make them are no longer interested in making a car that fans would want to pass down to multiple generations. I'm hesitant to say that all new cars are bad. It's just that with the less goal-oriented committee designs of the modern era, I can't help but feel as though my love has become a little tainted.